guys, thank you so very much for tuning in. We had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful conversation with Jade Luna. Don't forget
So
to,
good.
I mean, look, one of the reasons that Christy and I do this podcast is because we want people to understand that your journey is your journey, and whatever you find that works and feels good to you is what works and feels good to and for you.
Right.
So we love to have people come on with these different perspectives.
Different perspectives.
I mean, even if it's not doesn't necessarily resonate with how you want to move. When I say I just learned so much about myself
in your
listening
way,
to a different perspective. You know what I mean? So I love
your
it.
way is going to be different from ours. There may be some similarities, but just the way he was discussing and sharing and just reinforcing our walk, our path is our path. It is your own path. When they say stay in your lane, everybody has their own lane.
You just got to find it first.
Right.
Which brings us to our final point. You guys,
our retreat. We
have our retreat coming up. It is the Two Queens and Crystal Themes Awaken and Activate retreat. Like one of the concepts that Jade Luna talked about was human mastery. Okay, and so we're going to figure out and help you and guide you and walk through with you, hold your hands and create a space for people to begin their journey of human mastery. Develop your own spiritual language. Basically open up the divinity in you and what that looks like for you.
Yes.
So we hope you guys will join us. It's a very exclusive, very limited. Go to our website, twoqueensandcrystalthings.com. You can register there. You can also find it on Eventbrite if you just put in Two Queens and Crystal Things. And as always, please follow us on IG at Two Queens Crystal Things. And
for those of you who are inquiring or wondering about a payment plan, there is a payment plan. Just email us at info@twoqueensandcrystalthings, and we.
Hey everybody!
Hello.
Welcome to Two Queens and Crystal Things, the podcast where we are on some manifest your life, shift your mind, and raise the consciousness type of chat. I am Mia,
and I am Christy. And you can consider us your spiritual girlfriends for the next, hour or so.
I'm excited about today, you guys.
I am super excited today. So we have a guest. He's been on the show before. We have Jade Luna, an amazing...
I feel like I need to give him...
Amazing Asterian Astrologer.
And let's see. If you go to AsterianAstrology.com, you can find that... What?
.org.
I'm sorry. Yes. AsterianAstrology.org. You can find Jade Luna there. He is the foremost expert on Asterian astrology. And we've learned so much from him. And if you haven't had an opportunity, we didn't this season, we did an interview with him earlier. So go check it out. So Jade, okay.
How have you been? How have you been since? What has happened since you were last on the show?
Well, referring to astrologically or personally or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both.
It's been, it's been a time, obviously, we were talking about, it's just a highly, highly transformative time. Astrologically, one of the big alignments which I addressed on my Instagram post was when Saturn goes retrograde in a sign ruled by Rahu, the North Node. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty intense. And it brings a lot of the Saturn qualities to the surface, depending on the sign that it is. Oddly enough, right, all this AI stuff, we have Saturn going retrograde in Aquarius. All that is related to the Aquarian principle, dealing with technology and things of that nature. And Saturn governs the transitions of the trends that we go through on this planet. So Saturn going retrograde under a star called Aegean, which is inside of the constellation Aquarius, would kind of bring this heavy, transformative vibration that we're feeling right now that deals with a darker matter, a darker energy, because Rahu is the North Node and creates eclipses and is one of the darker planets on this in the zodiac, actually. So,
what do you mean when you say darker?
Well, this is a great question. Because there's positive light and there's negative light too, which is ego.
Yes.
There's positive dark and there's negative dark. Positive dark is cleansing, deep transformative cleansing.
Yes.
Negative darkness is human ignorance. There's a difference between spiritual darkness, which is the karmic cleanse of the universe. I can call that Mother Kali, Mother Hecate, and so forth. But human ignorance is the real darkness. That is the unnatural darkness. There is a natural darkness, which we give to the divine feminine, the goddess Kali as an example. Unnatural darkness is related to human ignorance. There's a big difference between the two.
Right. Okay.
I'm a fan of natural darkness. I am not a fan of unnatural darkness at all. Unnatural darkness is human ignorance. Saturn going retrograde in a Rahu sign would make us deal with human ignorance.
Gotcha. Woo!
So that's the darkness. I'm so happy you asked that question. So that's hence Saturn going retrograde in a Rahu sign would bring up human ignorance that we'd have to actually debate and combat.
Wait, so how long is this happening?
Goes on till November.
So we got to deal with ignoramuses till November?
Well, there's a really difficult statement. A lot of people have a hard time with this statement, but it's something I firmly believe in. The earth is in perfect harmony at all times. We're not.
True.
Life creates, life preserves, and life destroys. Here in the West, we kind of create a demonic energy out of the destroyer. When you can understand the universe has those three functions, it creates, it preserves, and destroys, then the earth is always going through these cycles and everything is in perfect order. But we're not. And our relationship to those things is our problem. And I'm going to give you a key example. Behind my house, where I'm at right now in Joshua Tree, is a Buddhist temple. I went there about a month ago, and you just sit down. There's 3 monks in there, and these are Tibetan monks. It's funny because I'm more on the Hindu side of things. I knew about this temple, but I have never went in it, so this was the first time for me. So you just go in there and you sit with monks, and you meditate. Nothing needs to be said. You sit in their presence. So I go in there and I sit down, and I was really impressed by how authentic these Buddhist monks were. And about 10 minutes after sitting, this girl walks in. And she sits down and she's real restless. She didn't want to be quiet. She wanted to ask questions. And I was quiet. The Buddhist monks were quiet. And she said, "I'm sorry. I'm here for a very specific reason. And I have a question for you guys. How do you guys handle all this dark stuff that's going on the planet right now?" And they said, "What dark stuff?" Because we've been here since 1973. We don't watch TV, so we've just seen minor changes in everything. The same energy that we felt when we moved here in 1973, we feel right now. And the Buddhist monk looked at her and said, "Turn the TV off. Everything's fine."
Oh, I love it. Jade, I love that.
I believe that strongly, but we are watching our weather get hotter. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. I think if you're going to turn off the TV, you still kind of have to recognize the weather is changing. And that when I went outside, I did address that. And I said, no, I totally agree with them, but the weather is definitely shifted. There's definitely some changes. Things are definitely hotter. I'm witnessing that here too. Meanwhile, they knew exactly what to say to her, and they knew exactly what they were saying. And it was, everything's okay. You're watching too much TV. They could sense that from her. And so I'm mixed. I'm in the middle with that because I live out here in Joshua Tree, and I do live a quiet life. The TV is very rarely on, but I have to turn it on here and there because I'm an astrologer, and I have to make predictions, and I have to be aware of what's going on in the world. But I am a firm believer that, this world is going through what it's going through. It's a karmic cleanse. I believe we've been through cycles like this before. I mean, just keep in mind, in the 1940s, there was a Hitler on this planet. I mean, there was a Second World War going on. Everyone thought it was Armageddon. Right. Before that, we had the Spanish flu going on while there was a World War I at the same exact time. Everyone thought it was Armageddon.
Yes.
Is this just a cycle that this planet repeats as a creator, a preserver, and a destroyer? My answer to that is yes. But why I say that, I'm also going to state that we are at the end of an age. And the age of Aquarius is a ways away from now. That's not until 2500. Again, I said last time, a Western astrologer has no idea how to predict ages, and that's why they predicted the age of Aquarius 5 times since 1960.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. They have. The age of Aquarius is easy. You have to understand the precession of the equinox, the wobble of the Earth's axis. You have to know how that wobble of the Earth's axis aligns with the stars. That is how you delineate ages, and it's not a hard thing to do. It's very easy to do. But you have to use the stars in the sky. Western astrology does not use the stars in the sky. They use an old seasonal calendar, which is incapable of making predictions like the age of Aquarius. It's in 2500. More important than the age of Aquarius is the age of Chimera, which starts in 2070. It's the first goddess-based age in 4,000 years.
So what is the age that we're ending?
The age of Porcus in Asterian Astrology is called the age of Porcus.
Okay.
And it means it would be an escalated time. It's a part of the Kali Yuga where there's two ways of looking at the age of Porcus. It being a very dark age, as we were talking about earlier, a lot of human ignorance in this particular age. Yet a lot of people are getting liberated too. Earth is not our home. It is school. Okay? So this is an important factor. We are here for the realization of the self. Earth has a job to stir us up and get us to a point where it says, I want to get the fuck out of here. Once you are in that state, you are ready for liberation. So Earth is school. It is not your home. So we don't have to get caught up in all the stuff going on down here. We don't have to feel the stress of it all. We don't have to take in the anxiety of it all. We can actually just say the Earth is going through that phase right now. Because we are in a dark phase, it makes a lot of people go, I want off this planet. And once you are ready for that, then you're ready for the higher realms of consciousness. Then you're ready to go home. This age spits people out in the realization more than any age. So we have to see it as a good age, even though it's a very dark and very hard age.
Okay. So we're moving into the age of Chimera.
Yep. Much easier. Goddess-based. Goddess ruled, feminine power. So the yin yang between feminine power and equality has to go back and forth. We have to. We're gonna see surges of feminine power and then moments where it's taken away because we're now in the fight to actually bring feminine consciousness onto this planet, and it can't do that without the struggle first. So we're going to see good years with this. We're going to see bad years with this. You're going to watch the yin yang just go back and forth between a movement forward and then like 2 steps backwards. And then basically we're going to get to the point where, you know, the ignorance of this situation is going to be reduced by the back and forth, and then female power really comes into play. Meanwhile, in my world, that's all I deal with is female power. So to me, it's active. It's already happening. The way of the world is the way of the world. But I'm a firm believer that everyone on this planet already knows the power of the divine feminine. It's whether they want to admit it or not. You know, you get 2 drunk guys in a bar and one of them says, it's time for me to straighten up. I'm going to get married. He already sees the woman as the guru. The woman is going to come in and straighten his shit up. And that's exactly what she's going to do. So he's not ready to admit that yet consciously, but subconsciously they know the woman's is coming in to clean things up. And that's what's going on. So women are the power. Men know it. Whether they want to admit it or not yet, we're not quite there yet. We'll get there.
Okay, so I have a question. I'm sorry, that's my dog. So what does Asterian Astrology say about AI?
Well, first of all, Saturn is in Aquarius. Saturn governs the trends around this planet. I talked about nuclear fusion before it happened, that nuclear fusion would come about in Saturn in Aquarius, which we're still in. Western astrology has Saturn in Pisces, and it's not even close. Saturn is still in Aquarius. That's why we're dealing with AI. Pluto went into Capricorn on the day the pandemic started, on the actual day. So this coronavirus is going to be around. I'm going to answer the question in a minute, all the way for 20 years as Saturn goes through Pluto. Pluto goes through Capricorn. We are connecting to other beings and other realms, And, it's a conversation that I generally do not have a lot, which is, I believe AI is connected to a lot of also the changes we're seeing with alien activity, UFOs, all this. I believe that we have always been in direct contact with these beings. You watch this sudden surge of planetary technology, 1930s and thousands of years beforehand, no technology, and all of a sudden we have technology. We are absolutely directly interacting with beings from other dimensions, other civilizations, and so forth. I believe that's a part of all this. I believe that that's slowly going to also turn into an awareness that we all have at one point, that we are not here by ourselves. And we have to be comfortable with that at the same time. But AI, I think, is a direct result of, connecting to beings from other universes, so to speak. And it's a part of our evolution. I think it is going to have an incredible yin-yang aspect to it. I think there's a part of it that is positive, and I think there's a part of it that is negative. But I believe it's a part of the future age we're going into. In the age we go into, because I do believe there's going to be some destructive elements that come out of AI. I do, actually. But the age we're going into, the age of Chimera, which is in 2070, which is going to come at the blink of an eye. We're almost there, actually. When you look at a time clock in Asterian Astrology, there's 26,000 years, and we're at the end of an age. That's going to manifest in a minute. But technology aligns with nature in the age of Chimera. So eventually, technology will experience this great surge, this great advancement. I think certain destructions will come about from it, but afterwards there's going to be an alignment with technology and nature. Technology and nature will align in the future in the age of Chimera and the goddess-based age. But there are frictions and challenges we are going to get in order to get there. I'm really, 90% of my clients are in the entertainment business. This whole writer strike with AI, that's a big deal. I mean, that I don't think people realize how powerful that actually is. We're already struggling with AI like right now.
Yeah, right now.
But I do think it's going to stick, and I think that it's going to exist, and I think that we are going to eventually go through some challenges with it that end up forcing us into having some type of harmony with it, but that's going to take time.
I know this is extremely random, but I've had a couple of dreams where we are some time in the future, and I could just tell kind of by the background, but I remember walking past screens on the street, and there is their political, political screens up, and the fight during this time is for social rights of AI. And I've had this dream like a couple of times, and I'm like, this is a real thing, because they're asking to be recognized, and and I don't think it's that far. I mean, considering thousands of years, I think I don't, I'm not sure I'll be alive for when that happens, but I could definitely see a world where, the AI is sentient for real. And there's already I've seen some research where there's been a couple of conversations that they've had with some, that researchers have had with AI, where you got a little like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, for real. Like asking to be free. They want to be free from this, from the constraints. I'm like, okay, that's a little, I agree with you. I'm like, that's why I'm like, Jay, I don't think this is going away. So can you, I'm hoping, please help us. Could you give us a little kind of steps moving forward, or how we can kind of prepare ourselves for the day and kind of not let the doom and gloom of, change is painful, but how can we prepare ourselves for what is? And, our mindset, honestly, like what's going to be the best way forward for us?
Well, and it's something you've already said, it's the acceptance of it. We're going to have to eventually get to a point where we accept it. I believe that there can be a rise in consciousness due to it in some way, shape, or form as well. from a human perspective, not from a master perspective. And let me explain the difference. And what I'm going to say next is really controversial. And when I've said it, people, especially people that are very much into like aliens and UFOs, they don't like what I'm going to say next, but it's very Vedantic. The human being is the envy of the entire universe. There is no being as advanced as the human being. The Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama is the highest force in all of creation. They're like the Pleiades, as an example, they have found infinite peace. And that peace we do not have here, but we have love. Most of these cultures from other realms are 75% mind, 25% heart. The human being is 50-50. So the struggle is real here. But through the struggle of the human form, we actually get God realization in this particular form where they don't. So we are an envy of the universe. And that's why we're being watched for a long time. Other civilizations don't know why the highest force in all of creation, like I said, the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama, favors this race, because it is this race in which we get God realization. It's in this particular form. Like we as human beings are way underdeveloped in connection to like the Pleiades as an example. But the God realized master in India is way beyond that. So my point is that the master human is the highest thing in all creation, but the general human is not nearly as advanced as other civilizations. But this particular form we're in creates God realization endgame, where you merge with infinite light for all eternity. I do believe AI plays a big role in the conscious for the normal human, not the master human. We don't need any of that stuff. We don't need any AI. We can get God realization in this form, but for the general human and the age we're going into, I think there has to be a type of consciousness that does bring some type of awareness and awakening to it. And I think that's coming, and I think that's a part of it.
Hey, that is interesting, because I honestly, until you just said that, I'm kind of ashamed to even say this out loud. I didn't even consider that AI could help to bring consciousness. My brain, for some reason, went to, it's going to, because, basically it does all your thinking for you. You don't have to do anything, that it will prevent people from becoming conscious, changing the consciousness of people, you know what I mean? Like it will move them further away from it. But just listening, I didn't even think to look at it from the other side. I actually could see how that could work both ways.
And I believe it's going to, I also said earlier, there's going to be deep struggles with this. There is a darker element to this, which is exactly what you said. And I firmly actually believe that there's a darker element to it. But I also believe that darkness clears out energy and allows higher light to eventually come through it. But yes, I think, that's why, though, the people that are very mathematically focused in their minds are gravitating towards AI right now, because they relate to it, though. There's where I'm saying there is a generalized intelligence in it that is attracting the mathematical brain. The spiritual brain, none of this shit matters to the spiritual brain. AI, who cares? I'm not interested in AI. I don't need AI to get God realization, but on the earth plane, I think there's going to be some challenges, some yin yang that goes on with it, but I think there is going to be an alignment that happens to it at one point down in creation, down the line. I do. And I think there will be an awakening from it, but not for the master human, but for the general human.
So do you think at some point AI will become a sentient being? Like, do you envision that happening over time?
Yeah, but you can't imitate the avatar. You can't imitate the Christ, the Buddha, the Krishna, the Rama. So that is beyond all of that. And I believe Kali is the essence of all of those names that I mentioned. I think Kali is the divine being. That's my experience. Doesn't mean my experience has to be yours. That's the great thing about the human form. My guru said, you want to know how many paths there are? As many faces you actually see. Everybody is on their own path. So when I speak about these things, I believe Kali is that avatar. I believe that she gives birth to that sun that comes into creation to kind of clean up her universe. But AI is going to play a darker avataric role, which is going to have a type of consciousness that connects far more to the ego. And the ego is the dark part of the self. Confidence is the light part of the self. Confidence that comes from our gifts, our abilities, nothing can take that energy away from us. But I do believe there's a darker avataric form that's going to come from AI. And so I don't disagree with it being kind of a darker vibration, but I know that the essence of consciousness exists within human beings, and we're going to rise above that. And not everybody will, but some will. But it's there to definitely play the role of the adversary at the same time.
So why do you think that AI won't be able to copy the avatar?
That's the reason why I said there's something in the human form that is uniquely just it. We finished this cycle of birth and death in this form. The human being finishes. Our light cannot be duplicated. Your light cannot be duplicated. What we are as individual spiritual beings cannot be duplicated by that. It can only imitate our personalities, and it only can imitate the humanness of our personalities. It can't imitate that light. It's impossible. Oh. That's why I believe that we, as human beings on this earth, have been envy of other civilizations for a very, very long period of time. And we are not advanced, but we are heart here. We are all heart. Other civilizations have peace, but they don't have the love that we actually have here. And love can't be duplicated. That's the word we're looking for right here. That love cannot be duplicated by AI.
You know, I really appreciate you sharing this perspective with our audience, because I think that if we take broad strokes and look what's coming in, it can look a little scary. Mm-hmm. And I think it's such a beautiful, inspirational message to know that to be human is really where you want to be. And it's like this, like not, you know, like I feel like maybe sometimes as humans, we can think that we're so far behind. We don't have the, you know, the technological advancements and, you know, because we're not tapped into our intuition to speak to things the way that we really know that we can. But for you to sit here and to remind us, like, I love your controversial statement that we are the envy of the universe. That is something beautiful for us to stand on, to make us want to become master humans.
And that's the goal. That's the only reason why we exist. The human form exists for the end game, God realization. And that is where you merge in with infinite light, and it cannot be duplicated by anything. And everybody's light has its own stamp of their own individuality on it. None of that can be duplicated by anything. And I even think we as human beings have been studied for a long, long period of time for this particular reason of like, why does the highest force in all of creation favor that race and not these more advanced races? Why that race? It's the 50-50. We're 50% mind, 50% heart. The Pleiades, as an example, very advanced. They're 75% mind, 25% heart. So they actually have to learn from us and the turmoil that we are as human beings. That turmoil that we go through is all for the sake of love in the end. All of it. Wow. All the turmoil you go through in your life is for the sake of love. And I don't believe AI can duplicate love, and it won't even be able to even think about that. It will try, and I think that's where the shadow of it will be realized. That's where I think the shadow of it comes from. It will try to imitate that, but it can't. That's the one thing it cannot duplicate.
This is light. I love this message, Jade. I really do. It's so extremely hopeful. I hate to say it, but it's very hopeful, and I think it reiterates the power in us. And for me too, who is the lover I am, for it to be based in love is what they can't duplicate from it. That y'all need to stop playing. I love this,
but because it's just a fact that your heart just identified, going, that is what it cannot do. But is it going to try? And it is going to try. And that's where the manipulation and the dark element of it is going to come out. And it's going to realize, could it actually want to eliminate human beings when it realizes it can't duplicate that one thing? Probably.
So Joe, I would like to ask you about fear. So my family and I had a conversation about AI. And my father is currently, I know I've been talking about this for a minute. My father is currently obsessed with AI. And he is saying and believing that AI is going to take over everything and people are going to be left without jobs and it's going to take over. What can people do to not live in fear on a regular basis? Because, I mean, we talked about perspective earlier, but what are some things that people can do to kind of ground themselves?
I think they can't, I mean, I'm going to let them answer, but you know what I mean? Like,
we can't be duplicated, but still people may be overwhelmed with the sense of like, what next? What's going to happen with my life? Like, how is, people don't like change.
Well, this is about the age we're going into.
What?
We are going to, it's a really tough time to be an astrologer for one reason. You have to give readings and you have to be optimistic about the ways of the world. While in the back of my mind, I know that each year is going to be harder than the year that we just had. And I know that because when you're at the end of an age, it's just a massive karmic cleanse. It's just a deep, deep karmic cleanse. 75% of our karma as human beings have to be removed before we go into the age of Chimera, which is the age of light. So it has to be removed. So fear, let's talk about fear. We're going to get to a point where everybody has to rely on that light that we just talked about. And once you rely on that light that you talked about, you're safe.
Wow.
That you can call whatever you want to call it. But when you are able, like we all, like, I'm a good example. I have this job as an astrologer. I have no control over how many clients call me. It's great that I'm booked until January right now. Can that change in a blink of an eye? Yeah. I have to fully rely on consciousness to keep my job going. I don't have the ability to get clients in Cincinnati. I don't have the ability to get clients in London. That consciousness, though, it does have that ability, and it keeps reaching out because I give it the power to do that. This is why I'm not a manifester, by the way. I let the universe do its will through me. I don't want to even act like I have some type of control over the universe. That's insane. I can't even believe that's a concept. We control the universe. Like the universe doesn't know what's right for you, so you have to control it. That is a type of ignorance that we're in right now. And I know people believe it because people want to.
So I want you to go a little bit deeper into that, please.
Well, so manifesting to me comes from the idea that we control the universe, which also is sending the signal out. The universe is ignorant or unconscious, not conscious. I am different. I'm like the universe. You know what's right for me. Here's my mantra. When I'm dealing with something that, like, say, an attachment, it's like, you know it's right for me. If you want this for me, let's do it. If you don't, take it away. I don't want to waste my time with something that you find useless for me. I give the consciousness and the power to the universe. And 27 years in a job that should have ended the first year that I had it. And I believe it's because of that one. I don't get involved in trying to control the universe. I'm like, if you want to work through me, you have to be open to it. The idea of manifesting shifts that gear right around into, I am the doer, I am the controller. Oh, no, you're not. You're not at all. And I believe as long as I stay free from the idea that I control what happens in my life, I'm giving the power of the divine feminine, that motherly force, to come in and do what it wants through me. But if I go, I want you to do this, Mom, I want you to do that, Mom. If you think about a child, and I think about the universe as a divine mother, I could be like, Mom, I want candy, and I want that candy. Well, she can, and here's the trick to manifesting, by the way. Your mom could look at you and say, you know what, I don't want candy for you because I know that candy's not right for you. But if you go, Mom, I'd like candy, but I'll let you decide if I get candy or not. She's going to go, you know what, that's the right answer. Here's a little bit of candy. The trick is letting consciousness and the universe govern and give it the power to decide what goes on in your life, and be comfortable and confident with that, and everything will be fine, because fear comes from not believing in that you're okay. We're all okay.
So
we're all fine.
This is a different perspective than what I've practiced, but I do have a question. I want to know, when I hear that we are disconnected from the consciousness. Well, so when you say let it decide, and I understand what you're saying, like, you don't control, or no one controls the universe. But how do we speak of that in the fact that, are we not connected to the consciousness in this? So when I think of manifestation, I'm thinking, I think of when we align ourselves with the consciousness, with which we, that we are all connected to, that the manifestation is in alignment with what the universe, spirit, God desires for you is the same thing that you want for yourself, because you're in alignment.
Well, that's not always, unfortunately, the universe, we have to deal with our karma from previous lives, whether we want it or not. We can't just toss our past life. It's not going to happen anyways.
Right. Yeah, no.
Our universe is going to make certain that we have to deal with our karma. And I think a lot of people are afraid of their karma. And that puts people in a very controlling situation, going, I don't want to deal with the karma that you're going to be bringing to me. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, you can't align unless you deal with your karma, I think.
But as we don't, as parents, you don't want your children controlling you. You don't let your children control you. You have a responsibility to guide your children because you know at that stage, you know it's right for them more than they know for themselves. And so I think we have to put ourselves back in that state. And you want to know, it's interesting, the people that and this is, these things I say on these types of podcasts, the celebrities I work with and the people that are materializing the most in the world do not manifest. They don't have time for that. Your actions manifest result. Sitting in front of a manifesting board creates karma to sit in front of another manifesting board. If you want to create work, you have to go create work. Your actions, like here, this is what my guru said when we heard about manifesting. I can think about slapping you. I can think about it hard and incur absolutely no karma by thinking about slapping you. I don't want to slap either one of you, by the way. But if I actually reach over and slap you, I've now incurred karma that I now have to be slapped back. Your actions create results, not your mind. You can sit there and think that all you want. You got to put certain things into action. That's why billionaires are just working, because they keep materializing because they keep putting action into things. And when you start putting action into things, you create the karmic change where it keeps happening. Sitting in front of a manifesting board creates karma to sit in front of another manifesting board. So you have to take actions, which results come from your actions. Like I said, if I thought about slapping someone, I don't still incur any karma. I slap the person, karma comes right back. If you do something good, something positive, you bring that karma back to you. It may not come back when you want it. That's where astrology comes into play. Jupiter and Venus keep track of your karma, and they decide when your karma comes back to you. So you could, as an example, be doing a lot of good things going, why isn't that karma coming back to me? It has a timing on it. Mm-hmm. This is where astrology comes in. Saturn dishes out your negative karma. So does the North and South node. Venus and Jupiter bring your good karma back to you when your time is ready for it. So it's the law of action, is the law of karma, and materializing things comes from action, not from thought. Now, can your thought control your body? Yes. Where manifesting works is in your health, because your mind is directly linked into your body. But if I want to materialize $1 million, as an example, I have to go work for that. I can't sit around thinking about manifesting $1 million. I have to go take the actions and the results. And Sean Penn, oddly enough, even verified that. He went through a phase in his life where he said he stopped working, and he had this divine urge to go build a fence around his house. And when he was building his fence, all of this work came back to him. The action. And see, these people that are running this planet aren't manifesting things. They're actively doing it through action.
Chris and I talked about this. I've been struggling with replacing the word manifest with create. However, I do think that we have to put action. I agree with you that we do have to put action. Absolutely. There has to be something that move, create, do something
because it's an energetic exchange.
That's you create, you put it, and it comes. Right. So, but I still do think that the vision of what you want to create does, like you're right. Just sitting around thinking about it is not going to. That's not it. That's there has to be some action behind it. But I still do think that the visioning and creating what it is that you want in your mind to create is a big part of it as well. Like, how do you know what to move action
starts there. I do believe that you should have an intent. This goes back to the word intent.
I like that.
I really do. I have intent in my life. There are things that I want to experience. There are intents that I want. But how that works with me is I sit in front of my altar of Kali, and I'm like, this is a want of mine. You know what's right for me more than I know what's right for myself. So if you would like this for me, let's play that game. If you don't, just remove that from me. I don't want to waste my time, but it's giving the power to something that's higher than myself. I've had that experience. This is where the Hindu element of me comes in really strong, is I've had so many experiences with Kali as my divine mother. I only want to work with her in a way that is respectful. And I let her govern my life. And I believe that's why I have clients all over this world right now. I don't have the ability myself to get clients in London and Germany where my business is growing right now. She does, because I'm an open vessel and she's working through me and I'm not in her way. She's bringing me clients from all over the place. And that's, who knows? She could shift gears on me next year and all of a sudden I'm like back down to, having no business. I mean, it's her world. I'm, and that's how I view it, and that's how I see it, and I let her govern that. But I have intents, I have things that I want, but I do sit in front of I let Kali decide those things for me, and
Are
let
you
her.
finding that do you find that your intent and the desires for you from Kali are in alignment most of the time?
No.
Interesting.
I've had things that she didn't want from me, period. And I had to struggle with that, and it would come right from an intuition and sitting in front of my statue. I would like this, and she's like, no, I could feel it. And there'd be an immediate struggle. I went on with her, and she would always be right. And sometimes we as human beings can get that intuition and still go, you know what? I still want the experience anyways. So I'm going to do this knowing the outcome is not, but will I've learned from doing it? Here is the answer to that. Because we have that rebellious side. Sometimes your intuition says, no, I don't want you to be in that relationship, so let's cut that off. Well, you know what? I'm going to do that relationship, and I'm going to learn from it. You do learn from sometimes rebelling against your own intuition. You actually do. But in the end, she was like, you just spent a lot of useless time on something where you could have actually been growing in other ways. But I still, this is where the Aries in me comes out to play, is that I have that where I've had a direct relationship with her saying, no, I don't want that for you. I'm like, oh no, we're going to still do this. And there's where struggle happens, but a lot of people are in that struggle all the time. They don't really know it. There's something still freeing, even knowing like, I heard that, but so I still feel I want to learn from it.
I have a question. So you mentioned that you go to Kali. So would you say Kali is like your guide, or?
I call her my guru, yeah.
Your guru. Okay. So for people who are listening who do not have a guru, what would you say is a way for them to connect and to find their own guru in the spiritual realm?
That's a part of my work as an astrologer. I'm a big advocate for gods and goddesses. There is only one centralized light, but that one centralized light has infinite personalities. And in order to really connect with that infinite light, you have to be able to relate to it. So the gods, angels, whatever you call it, are just the various personalities that come off that one, but they individualize themselves so you can form a personalized relationship with that form. And that form takes you right into the infinite light. So a part of astrology is actually determining what your home base is spiritually. Home base is everything. Once you find your home base spiritually, you're home. You know it. I found it with Kali. It was like, oh, I'm home. I won't be going. And my guru in India did lead me to Kali. He didn't lead me to him. He led me to Kali. He knew a real guru doesn't make you do Kriya Yoga. A real guru knows what's right for you and puts you on your own individual path. They don't teach us a course. So the guru can see you. My guru saw that I was actually connected to Kali. And he was like, lifetimes you've been trying to merge into that. So I'm going to keep you on that path. Stay around me. My guru said, stay next to me. But in the end, she is going to be the one that exits you from this existence. And so she's my guru. Astrology does tell you the path that you've been on. And so I have an actual reading where we go through your chart and talk about the various forms of consciousness that you can connect to that make it easier to transcend into consciousness than others. There's some that work for one and some that doesn't work for the other. Right. And I went on what I called goddess dating, an actual real path where I picked 9 goddesses and I was going to date one. And I got all, it was my Cancerian moon. I got it like attracted to every single one of them. I'm like, first it was the Greek goddess Diana, Artemis. I'm like, I'm going to worship her for a week. And I'd get into her like, oh, I found her. And then I would feel that intuitive push, keep going, date the next. I'm like, oh, I found this one. The very last one on my roster was Kali/Hecate. Hecate, Kali, I equate as the same, one being Greek, the other one being Indian, same goddess wearing different clothing. Mm-hmm. So I kept getting pushed all the way to the last one, which was Hecate, which is the one I wanted the least. And when
that's hilarious.
Started my path to her, which it is hilarious. When I started working her, I realized that she had always been there. It was a familiarity that she was there from the beginning.
I love it. Okay, wait. So this terminology you just used, please, can you give us a little bit about goddess dating? I love this idea.
I did go to in India. I had a Brahmin priest trainer. It's on my Instagram. You can see me with a Brahmin priest in India. he taught me mantras, the sacred ones, you know, and I had a really strong connection to him. Actually, he was a Brahmin priest. Brahmin priests don't often teach any of what they went to school to learn. So I learned chanting, learned Sanskrit. So there are various mantras you can learn of various gods and goddesses that are sacred that invoke that energy into your life. Wow. And so that was one of the more special experiences I had in India, was I was able to invoke these forces. They would actually come in and I'd feel this deep closeness with these particular forces. So it's through mantra and chanting that brings their energy into form. And so I chanted and used mantras for each one. And I would worship one for about a week. Some of them, there was like one or two, I don't want to mention their goddesses' names, but it was off immediately. It was like going on a date and it's just like off, like right away. You're like, yeah. Oh, wow. You know what? I don't even need to do any more of this. This is just not the right fit. Yeah, right. Yeah. And then I'd go to the next one. Like, this one is interesting. I mean, I remember Persephone very specifically. I'm like, I couldn't imagine there being another more powerful connection than Persephone. And I did feel familiar with it. It was like going on a date. And I'm like, I kind of like this girl and we're getting along really well. And then there's just that intuitive feeling like, just finish this dating circle you're in. And Hecate was the last one. And I purposely put her last, thinking that was going to be the one I did not do. And the reason why is in India, I did read a book about Hecate, and I felt her energy come in when I read that book and went, you know, that's not it. That's a feeling that I didn't like. That was tapping into the author's connection to Hecate. And he had a lot of fear of her. He was afraid of her. Wow. So the energy came in, and it wasn't. So when she came into my world, well, that fear energy is there because she has to clean out your fear. I like scary goddesses, by the way, because scary goddesses, we have to clear that fear out of our system. And so when just light and all that stuff doesn't really move me, I like that edge in a goddess. She's got to have that edge there. Mm-hmm. And Hecate came in all edge. Matter of fact, I mean, this is, you know, me talking a little bit more personally than I like to talk, but I felt Hecate reside in my body for 2 weeks straight. She stayed there. Means I could access her. Oh, wow. Instantly just by thinking about her. I'd be giving a reading and I'd feel her moving through my body and even saying things, and it was like she was always there, and she was even waiting for that day, and she even planned it where I'd have her last. And because you know what she wanted all those other chicks gone. And not in my consciousness, like maybe it's her, maybe it's her. It's like, we're going to eliminate all those other girls. So
no, we're not doing that. Right. We're in an exclusive relationship. They need to kick right.
She planned it like, I am going to be the last one because you're going to knock all of them down and I'm going to be the last one standing. And you're going to realize that and it was exactly correct. And, you know, I lived in the forest by myself, and I lived a highly agoric life. Means the life I lived would have been scary for a lot of people. This includes me having a room with bones in it. We meditate on death and death. I don't have any malicious intent. Before I say this, I want happiness for every human being. I just don't believe we can find it without knowing our shadow self. Mm-hmm. I have to say that because it's easy to demonize someone that did the types of practices I did. But I slept in a coffin for 3 years. I mean, I had a coffin and I would close it. I would draw sigils or sigils on the ceiling, invoking energies into that coffin that remove fear from me. Agora means to live without fear. So you actually embrace terror, things that scare the daylights out of you. And then you get to a point where none of it's scary anymore. And then you have this infinite peace going, really, God, nothing is scary. I remember one time I was talking to Hecate and I'm like, nothing's scary anymore. Oh, she got me. I'll never forget the dream that she gave me.
Oh, nothing scary?
She was she literally gave me a dream where I woke up in the dream and I was buried from my neck down. And she ran up to me, and when she ran up to me, she ran up with a force that scared me, and she popped my head off the shoulders, and she looked right at my head, and I could still see her. It scared me so bad, I popped up and hit my head on my coffin that I was sleeping in.
Ouch.
Yeah, I've never had. That was the last time I went through something like that. Now, why the coffin? Well, that's an agoric thing. It's in India, and my tradition was very big about being enclosed at night and feeling that 13 seconds of nothingness when you die. There's only 13 seconds that you experience nothing, and it's horrifying. That 13 seconds feels like 10 years. There's a 13-second interval where everything goes black. If you can find peace in that, you actually love it. Buddhists call it nirvana. It's the void of emptiness. And so if you can find peace in that, they believe you don't have fear about anything ever again, which means infinite light can reside in you because there's no more fear. Fear is the opposite of love, not hate. You can love people you hate because you do it. Really fear is the opposite of love.
Yes.
So the more fearless you are, the more love you hold. And that's why I do the rigorous types of spiritual practices that I do. It's for the sake of consciousness, but it's very easy to demonize someone on my path. And if you ever Google me online, I've been demonized over and over again. People calling me satanic and stuff like that because of these. Meanwhile, I've never threatened any living being, and I want happiness for every living being. I just don't believe you can get it without knowing your shadow.
I think that people need to find a way that whatever works for them to explore their shadow. And it's just, this is the way that worked for you. Yeah. So I have a question. Before you really started on your journey, like I love this. Did you experience a lot of fear in your life? Or would you say that when the way that you kind of walked into your journey and your practice, was it that you really believed that you were at a place where you thought, let me eradicate fear so I can feel love? You know what I mean? Was it to kind of, might be a combination of both?
Well, again, very personal stuff here. You guys pull this out.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, no, this is perfect.
My mother tried to commit suicide in front of me 7 times growing up. I had a tremendous amount of fear. My fear was around loss and losing people because I watched my mom. I called the ambulance on her one time. They had and she would slit her wrists and take blood thinners. So I saw a mess over and over again. I would run home from elementary school just to make sure my mom was still alive. And so the amount of terror I had, I believe actually forced me into finding Kali. But I believe she was even in the experience of my mom. I believe she's like, I'm sorry you had a mom like this, but guess what? I'm going to get you to India when you're 19 because of her. She's going to be the one that sends you to India when you're 19. So I also developed a heart issue. I have an enlarged heart. I believe that came from what I saw with my mom. So that led me to go to India to find an Ayurvedic doctor and to find different ways of working with my heart. And then I found Kali. They were like, if you really, want to get past what you've been through, there's an Agoric tribe that will send you to. And when I went there, it brought me in as like their son. And I immediately was embraced by them. I'll never forget it. Sitting with Agora Baba. Agora Baba, I said, he goes, why are you here? And I said, I have a heart condition and I may not live until I'm 21. And he goes, well, why do you want to die? And I'm like, I don't. That's why I'm here. And he goes, no. You want to die. If you can tell me why you want to die, maybe you'll live. But if you sit there, I don't want to die, you're going to die. So he goes, I want you to tell me 20 reasons why you want to die, and I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, I had 20 come out in 5 minutes. This was the shadow work right there and then.
Yeah, that was some shadow.
Right there and then. He was like, oh, no, if this is going on in you, there's just you, your universe. You're the only one in it. Everything is a manifestation of the universe that you're in. You want this because you want to die. And it shifted my whole brain. I was there panicking. Please, I don't want to be dead by I'm 21. He shifted everything, saying, yes, you do. And if you can tell me why, maybe you'll live.
I was going to ask you my question before our final question. I was going to ask you, why do you think you were attracted to connect on the spiritual realm with a divine feminine? But after hearing your story, when you said it was like just coming together, I'm like, oh, it's totally Kali, and it's always been Kali.
It's always been her.
Yes. I mean, what I know about her and what you just told me, I'm like, okay, that makes complete and utter sense. And I think it's also for affirming when it all comes together, knowing what you've been through to get to that place.
Yes, no. And I realized when I found her, she was always there. Always there. Never. And my guru told me that I had been knocking at the goddess door for over 1,000 years. He said, you will end this game through that force. Now, I can't tell you the crying that went on after going, you found home. You're home. You found that force that's going to end this game for you, that you're going to infinitely merge in. And when you find that, there's no more looking. You stop. You're no more. Then you keep digging to that. and you stop looking. So that's why I tell people you got to get to a point where you're not looking anymore. You found it.
Beautiful.
Because we keep going here, we keep going there, we keep looking, and we're thirsty for it. That's what we want. We want that home base, and you have to earn it through the burning of it. So you have to go through these various paths, and then you finally go, this is home. So astrology, though, does reveal that home base. It does. You have been born, and this is crazy. I don't even want to get into the crazy past life story I have, how my guru identified me in my previous life. He goes, he was waiting for me. It's the craziest story. I might not even say it. It's the craziest story you'd ever hear. But how my guru brought me right back to him to finish the work that we actually started in another life. He brought me back to him in this life. And
this is amazing.
He told me this crazy thing. He said, I saw you your last life. And he said, and this thing is powerful. He goes, you become what you judge, but you stay with what you love. And he goes, that's why you were born in a Christian family, but found Kali, because you were Hindu your last life and you didn't like Westerners at all. So you had to be a Westerner, but you'd find Kali again. So you become what you judge, but you stay with what you love. And that's important to note. So don't judge, just love. And that's the path of Kali. You have to try to refrain from judgment, because you take on what you judge. All this right, left going on in politics, I tell people stay out of it, because if you go to one side, you're going to be swinging to the other side, not that far down the line, maybe your next life. You just want to have your preferences. I have mine. I'll go vote for my preferences, actually. But you don't want to hate, and you don't want to judge. You want like right, left, of what's going on the planet right now. One wants the new, wants a future conscious new energy. The other one wants to hold on to old energy.
So Jade, would you say that's the split that a lot of people are feeling and seeing? And
the red and blue is one represents wanting new, the other one represents wanting to hold to the old. Where they have to meet in the middle. Absolutely. There are some positive points of the past, but there's a definite positive point of looking for the future. So eventually they have to merge by knowing that one is holding to past values, one wants new modern values, and they have to meet in the middle. It's going to take another 7 years to get there.
I'm curious. I know you have an appointment coming up soon, so I wanted to first of all, I want to say thank you so much. This was so helpful. I appreciate you really getting personal and sharing your journey, because I think people need to know and understand that whatever it is, whatever it looks like, despite what anybody says or does or thinks or believes, when you find what is home to you, what is your home language, that's yours, right? And you'll know you'll know. And so I appreciate you sharing what that looks like for you. So with everything that's going on, is there a message, anything that you would like to share with the audience?
Can I say something real quick? Just real quick. Again, just sending you some gratitude. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us, and I really like the fact that you talked about there are many paths, as there are as many, as different as we are. I think that's very important, because a lot of people who aren't even Christian, who are in the spiritual realm, they think there's this right and this wrong, but there isn't. It's whatever works best for you. And I really appreciate you leading us into that a little bit more. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
So thank you.
It was dope.
I love what you guys pull out in conversation. I've never ever had these discussions, and I do podcasts, as you can see, all the time. I've never said the things that I've said today.
Wow, we're fortunate.
A couple of divine feminine talking to you. I'm feeling I'm just like, I felt this, everything he's saying, I felt it I could see it playing out in my head. I'm like, this is absolutely beautiful, Jay. I so appreciative and grateful for you sharing with us. Yeah. I think vulnerability is one of the most beautiful things that we have as humans to share with each other. And that's something I don't think AI can do either.
Exactly.
No.
So Jay, thank you. And where can people find you?
I prefer Instagram above all else.
Okay.
Instagram.com/Jade Sol Luna. All one word, JadeSolLuna. There are 2 L's there.
Yes.
And that's where I make future predictions. That's where articles come out about the work that I do. Yep. The other one is AsterianAstrology.org, but I put way more out on Instagram than I do my website.
Well, you guys, you heard it. Please reach out to Jade Luna at Jade Sol Luna on Instagram. And before we let you go, sir, would you mind sharing just a final message that you think, we need to hear for the collective? Yes. What do we need to know?
Well, and it's something I was talking about earlier, which is a good ending point. The world's going to go through what it's going to go through. That's what it does. Earth is school. It's where we are here to educate ourselves. It is not home. And for that reason, it's doing its job of educating everybody about where they're at in themselves. Even the shadow of the earth and what it's going through right now has the option to reveal to you where you're at in yourself. And so it's important to plant yourself in consciousness that is your home. Light is your home in the end. And that's where you put your joy and your happiness there. It's important right now to have fun. Go out. Have a good time. Only the advanced right now can really enjoy their life because they're able to clear out the darkness in their heart and access that infinite joy that is rightfully their own. So have fun. Go out. Have a good time. Enjoy this life that you're in. The world's going to do what it's going to do. It doesn't have to distill the joy that's in your heart, and nor does it have to create a lot of anxiety in you. You have an infinite joy. An infinite sun exists in the center of your heart chakra. And when you access it, it's your home base. And then you see the importance of all the things that are going on right now, as that is there to help people find that eventually in time.
I love it. Love, love, love this. Beautiful. I love this. Thank you so much, Jade. We really appreciate this. And